Hey, good day everybody from Direct Pro Audio. I've had a couple questions this week in regards to frequency response while some people have been shopping for speakers. So I decided I'd make a short video explaining what frequency response is and how that might affect the decision on which speaker you're looking to buy. So frequency response, you'll see on a sheet of paper in the specs column, it'll usually say like 30 hertz to 18 kilohertz. Well, first of all, what is a hertz? That's a vibration per second. So 30 would be very low. That's a bass note. And the 18 kilohertz, that's 18,000 hertz. That would be a very high tone. So frequency response is telling you what is the speaker capable of doing within its field of coverage. So directly in front of the speaker, and let's say the horn pattern is 60 degrees wide by 40 degrees tall. So if you're right in front of that speaker in that coverage range, what is the speaker capable of reproducing in the frequency spectrum? But it always has a caveat. It's going to say 30 hertz to 18 kilohertz, but it's going to say plus or minus 3 decibels or some other number, but usually plus or minus 3 decibels. So then we have to describe to ourselves, well, what is the decibel? Do we know what that means? How does that affect the frequency response? So a decibel is a measurement of loudness, and the plus or minus 3 in the frequency response spec tells you that this speaker is going to produce 30 hertz to 18 kilohertz with a deviation of either 3 decibels plus or minus on certain frequencies, but generally not worse than that. Can you tell the difference in 3 decibels of sound pressure level? Absolutely. In regular music, DJ, live band, stuff like that, you're not going to be able to tell where the speaker's weak point is by the human ear. You would need to use a real-time analyzer to graph out the speaker and see exactly where its high points and low points are. That's one of the things you use a graphic equalizer for, is to fill in the gaps in frequency response of a speaker. So basically, looking at that frequency response, pretty much every speaker in the world is going to be like, 20 to 20, they'll say. But you've got to always watch for that plus or minus 3 decibels. Some might say plus or minus 6. 6 decibels plus or minus, that's a huge difference. So when you're looking apples to apples, look for speakers that are giving you a frequency response that is realistic, like 30 hertz to 18 kilohertz. That's pretty realistic. A lot of speakers will say 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz. That is not realistic, plus or minus 3 decibels. That's extremely hard, especially when you've got a loudspeaker that just has a low frequency transducer, a woofer, and a high frequency compression driver, a tweeter. And so that would be an extremely wide ranging speaker. So you need to kind of look at things. There is a lot of truth to you get what you pay for, especially when it comes to loudspeakers. And are they in a plastic box or a wooden box? And are they active or are they passive? But basically, frequency response is just going to tell you how good that speaker can reproduce the signal that's going into it without too much deviation in output between the different frequency bands. So there is frequency response in a nutshell.